Welcome back, and let's go ahead and continue from my last video, which was all about getting pregnant and what that whole journey was like. And now I would like to share with you guys what my pregnancy was like. Enjoy, guys. We found out. I was, obviously surprised, as always. I was a little shocked with the numbers at first, because, Eleanor's numbers, they were pretty high, and his was lower, so in my mind, I was like, oh my god, what if, I have a miscarriage and whatnot. So I also did an interlipid 5 days before the transfer, which I forgot to mention. The procedure was pretty much the same. It's just like a couple more medications. And then they told me I need to do interlipids again after my positive pregnancy test. Whereas last time, after I got my positive pregnancy test, I did not have to continue doing interlipids. So it was kind of different. And so I asked them, like, once I did do my second interlipids, I asked them, like, do I need to come back again? Like, how often do I have to do this? So they had me do the NK cells again test, the blood test, and it happened to come back high. So they're like, you're actually going to have to come back every 3 to 4 weeks until you're 24 weeks pregnant. And I was freaking out. I was like, what? Because one, it's money. Insurance doesn't cover that. I was going to be unemployed at that point. And I kind of felt bad that I was going to be going to the clinic, going like, 6 months? I was going to be 6 months pregnant. Going to a clinic where women are trying to get pregnant. So it was a little hard, but, my mom was like, you gotta look at it the other way around. You have to look at it as you're giving these women hope that they can get pregnant, when you do show up. So I was like, okay. So I went for every single month, every 3 to 4 weeks, I went to the clinic and got my interlipid, sat there for 30 minutes and did that. And then I actually changed OBs. I love the doctor who delivered Eleanor. I just didn't like that I didn't have a choice between a doctor or a midwife who delivered my baby. And then I didn't like the clinic itself. Like, the procedures and everything, it was just like, you would be there. It felt like sometimes I would go for an appointment and I would sit there for like 2 hours, which was insane. The difference between mine and Eleanor's and Theodore's pregnancy is that with Eleanor, I got really bad morning sickness, like severe morning sickness. Whereas with Theodore, I did not have morning sickness. I immediately started having acid reflux, or GERD is essentially what I had. It was like severe acid reflux. So from about, I would say 9 weeks pregnant, I started throwing up in the morning, and it was just like pure acid that was coming out, just bile. And I was thankful, because when I was pregnant with Eleanor at the beginning, I wouldn't stop throwing up. I mean, I was nauseous all day and all night. Whereas with him, I was a little bit nauseous, not too bad. And just like with Eleanor, from my first trimester, started getting so hungry, like severely hungry, that I had to eat like every 45 minutes. Nothing ever satisfied my stomach. So in between those two pregnancies, that was like one thing that I did have in common. But I was just very, very thankful that I did not have that severe morning sickness that I had with Eleanor, because Matt and I went to Michigan for 2 weeks in January, at the end of January. So I was fearful that I would be in another state, I would be flying, and having Eleanor with me 24/7 while dealing with morning sickness. But thankfully that did not happen. He's making a lot of noise. Can you see him? No, I don't think you can. So yeah. And then, so from early on, I also gained, in my first trimester, I gained 15 pounds, which is a whole lot of weight, considering it's just my first trimester. I went to my sister's doctor. And the clinic had all doctors, no midwives, which was fantastic. When I first went, I met with the male doctor, and the second time I met with the doctor who actually delivered my baby, And since she knew I was having an IVF baby, she immediately, like, she pretty much, like, from early on, like, I think I went to her at 12 weeks because that's pretty much when I graduated from my clinic, the IVF clinic.
That's better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
153.
153?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's higher than it was last week.
Yeah.
Now I'm questioning. Look at the old wives' tales. Like, oh, anything
Boy.
below, like,
Yeah.
140 or 154.
It's a boy.
Last time it was below, now it's above. Like, I don't know.
Are you want to see it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's a little baby.
It's a little peanut.
Yeah, so she immediately referred me to a high-risk doctor. She's like, oh, you're an IVF pregnancy. Like, I like to send my patients to the high-risk doctor, which happened to be the exact same doctor the exact same high-risk doctor I went to with Eleanor. Even though I went to a different OB, they have the same high-risk doctor, which is just down the street from each other. So I was a little shocked because I was like, man, this is my second IVF pregnancy and I didn't have to do that. Like, I only went to the high-risk doctor at the end of my pregnancy because I had developed cholestasis. But whatever, she wanted me to do that. You know, when I went to the high-risk doctor, they're like, some doctors, you know, like to send their IVF patients to come here and just be evaluated just in case. So when I did go, I just about had a heart attack because, you know, they do a deep dive into the baby and they just want to make sure everything's a-okay with the baby. Well, when they started checking for the heart, I guess they were having difficulties looking at the heart, and so they sent me to a pediatric cardiologist.
All right, so over 3 hours after my scheduled appointment, I'm finally leaving. And the doctor was not concerned, so the only thing that they found was that there's like a membrane that after birth, it'll close the chamber. And like, it's normal for babies to have it open right now, but she's like, it's more open than it should be. But she's like, I'm not concerned at all. However, when the baby is born, she's like, I do want you to come back when he's 3 months so that we can double check that it's closed, because if it's a little bit open, then he essentially would have like a heart murmur. So she just wants to double check, and then the last thing she said, which what my high-risk doctor said, was because it's an IVF baby, there's a higher chance of a heart defect, whereas normal babies have like a 1% chance. IVF babies have a 7% chance. So for those two reasons, after the baby's born, I have to come back. But she's not concerned right now. She says everything looks good.
So another thing that I experienced with Theodore's pregnancy was that early on, at like maybe 20 weeks pregnant, I started experiencing itchiness. And I was getting nervous because I was like, okay, the last time I had this itchiness was at the end of my pregnancy with Eleanor, and I got diagnosed with cholestasis, and which is why I had her, she was delivered at 37 weeks. Well, I started experiencing it, and the doctors, you know, because you rotate doctors every time you go to the appointments, and they were like, well, do you have itchiness on the palms of your hands and soles of your feet? And I'm like, no, I have itchiness on my back and on my sides, like on my sides. And I'm like, this pretty much the same thing that happened to me last time. Last time it was on my back and my legs, but I'm starting to experience it. It's not as severe, and I know that it usually happens in your 3rd trimester, but when you've already had one pregnancy, it can happen earlier. So they're like, okay, yeah, that's true. So let's get you tested for cholestasis. Well, it came back negative. But I wasn't getting the itchiness every single day. It was like kind of like sporadic, and it wasn't very long. But again, I was very aware and alert of the situation. And so fast forward, I'm now going to the high-risk doctor once a month because the one OB referred me to go every 4 weeks. So I'm also going to the high-risk doctor. I'm also bringing up the itchiness to them So they then eventually have me doing the blood test, and lo and behold, it came back positive the second time around. So I was put on Ursodiol, which I really wasn't taking, because it wasn't, like, the itchiness wasn't that severe, because I was still 20-something weeks pregnant, so it wasn't that severe. So I kept going, but now I was having, once it came back positive, then I was starting to go to the clinic once a week, like every single week until the very end of my pregnancy. So I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. Like, I'm gonna be living in this place. And mind you, this place is like almost an hour away from my house. So I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be fantastic. Well, every time I went to the doctor, are we okay? We're good. Okay. So yeah. So that was fun to have to go every single week, because on top of that, there were some weeks where I had my OB appointment and the high risk appointment. So I was like, oh no. And then sometimes like most of the time it was never on the same day. So I would have to go drive an hour, because both my OB and the high risk were like just a few minutes away from each other. So sometimes I had to drive an hour to the OB one day and the next day go to high risk. So I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. But at the high risk, all they're doing is making sure the baby is progressing, everything looks good, that he's moving, that his heart looks fine. So it's pretty much the same appointment over and over, and then they would constantly repeat the cholestasis test. So every few weeks, I would do the test. And the irritating part was that of all the tests that I did for cholestasis, only one came back positive for cholestasis. So I was like, I looked like I'm crazy. Like, I'm crazy to you guys, because I'm telling you guys, my body is itching. And as the weeks progressed, it was getting worse. Even though at the beginning it was not that bad, but I was seeing that it was more frequent. And it was lasting longer and it was getting itchier. And they're like, no, we believe you. You know, we like to use the test as a way to confirm the symptoms. But we definitely believe that you have it. So my OB was aware of it, my high-risk doctor was aware of it, everyone knew that I only had one positive cholestasis test. Well, at some point they were like, but you need to be taking your Ursodiol. And I'm like, oh, I really don't want to be taking it, but whatever, I'll take it. So I took it as recommended. Well, the first day I took it as recommended, which is 3 times a day, I did not go to sleep until 4 in the morning, because the itchiness was so bad. It was so severe, I could not go to sleep until 4 in the morning. Whereas with Eleanor, I would itch for like an hour and then eventually fall asleep. Well, when I started taking the Ursodiol, I was a mess. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I took it for 2 days straight. I was like, absolutely not. Like, I told them the next appointment, I'm not taking this. Like, I'll take it like sporadically. I'll take one, but I'm like, I'm not taking it as recommended, because I cannot deal with the itchiness. It made me feel worse. And I was doing research and I found one website that says like one of the side effects is itchiness, and I was like, well, hello, it's making me feel worse. Well, at some point, no, once I turned 32 weeks, let me tell you, it was so bad. I mean, bad. From 32 weeks until 37 weeks, for 5 weeks straight, 7 days a week, I'm not even exaggerating, I would sleep like maybe 2 hours a night. It would be, and it was so annoying because it was so frustrating, because it would happen when I went to bed. The second I would lay down to go to bed, it was like this itchiness is so severe. It was, felt like it was everywhere. It was bad. And to the point that the only thing that calmed me down, that would take the itchiness away, was taking a shower. So I would literally be in the shower, running water on me for an hour straight, 45 minutes to an hour straight, every single night, for up to 4 times a night. Okay? That's a lot of showers. It got to a point where my skin was so dry, it didn't matter how much oil, how much lotion, it didn't matter how much I put on my body, it was dry. And the itchiness, I would have scratch marks all over my body too. And I was like, I don't know what happened. The second I turned 32 weeks, it was like a switch. And I would, every week, I was constantly crying. I was like, 37 weeks cannot get here sooner. And I just wanted them to confirm a date for the delivery, and they're like, we can't confirm a date until a week before. So it wasn't until 36 weeks pregnant that my doctor was able to confirm a date with the hospital. So every week I was so miserable. I'm like, I'm just so tired. I can't do this. I was desperate. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not sleeping. I'm tired of taking showers. I'm tired of scratching. I'm exhausted. So finally at 36 weeks, I was like, thank the Lord Jesus. They scheduled my induction for me to go in Sunday night on August 8th. So 8/8. But the Friday before, so August 6th, I had to go in and do a COVID test. If it came back positive, Matt and I would be quarantined into a different section of the hospital or of the maternity section, where we're not allowed to leave the room at all. Like, wherever you deliver, that's your postpartum room as well. So thankfully, it came back negative. So we were able to go into the hospital with a regular room. So I'm gonna end the video here. Hopefully I don't forget anything, but if I do, I'll insert like little video clips that I did record.
One, hold on, let's go
Someone's
this
gonna
way.
come out of the door or something now.
And
Everyone's left around.
Yes,
no, this is not how we're gonna do the gender reveal.
go! Aw, shit.
Okay, it's not gonna be like that. All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Wait.
He?
Oh, hold on, slowly.
It's a boy.
Let's stop.
It's a boy and a girl.
Ah!
He's
Hold on.
what is it, guys? It's already the keyword he.
Oh, that sucks. I can't tell.
Just take off the whole thing.
He wished
he was a she. What happened? Hold on.
It transitioned.
Okay, he
Or
she.
You're a she.
What will it be?
Make
Your dreams come true.
Holy moly, that's a boy. It's a boy.
Hold on.
I'm scared.
Don't be
Yeah,
scared.
I know.
Shaggy says she's ripping. Yes. Huh?
Just rip it!
Wait.
Your daughter's gonna want to say that. So we can surprise thee.
He.
So we
Go.
3, 2, 1.
Happy New Year.
It's up!
But I'm gonna end it here. He's gonna say goodbye, Theodore, Teddy, my little teddy bear, and we will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.